Hi, I'm Scott Peterson from Drazio Peterson. We represent a small number of severely injured people in lawsuits and claims all across New York State, and in particular in Saratoga Springs and the Capital Region. One of the questions that we have often receive is, do I have a good personal injury case? And really there are a number of factors that determine whether or not you have a good case. And we're going to go through 8 factors that are sort of the primary ones determining whether you have a strong personal injury claim. The first is liability, which is a breach of the duty to use reasonable care. This is the biggest hurdle typically, and it's especially true in smaller personal injury cases. It's important to remember that insurance companies have no fear whatsoever about rejecting claims in small cases in which there are serious questions as to liability. To put it another way, if the defendant's fault or responsibility is unclear, then so is your chance of achieving a favorable outcome in your case. Liability can be clear, but if there are no damages, then you have no case. The damages factor frequently cannot be fully assessed at your initial interview because the extent of your injuries is still unknown. However, even in the earliest stages of your case, you probably have some idea as to the potential severity of your injuries. And cases involving broken extremities are often easy, but softer tissue cases such as neck strains, back strains, and those sorts of injuries are a little bit more difficult. Number 3, does the potential defendant have the ability to pay any judgment? If not, you and your attorney may invest a good deal of time, money, and effort, as well as emotional energy in the case, but you may never see a penny in return. Either some type of insurance must be there to cover the incident, or the defendant must have some personal assets like significant property in order for the case to be viable. Number 4, will the jury like you? Will jurors empathize with your situation? Conversely, what kind of person is the defendant? Will the jury like the defendant? There are some bad defendants, such as a drunk driver, the tire squealer, or the bully. If you have a bad defendant, your settlement range probably goes up. Number 5, your case is only as good as your evidence. And usually your evidence is only as good as your witnesses. If, for example, your only witness to support liability is a relative or a friend, your case may be weaker than if you had several impartial witnesses. If the doctor involved has never testified, doesn't want to testify, or can't testify well, this may also lower the case's settlement value. Number 6, some insurance companies are tight-fisted. It doesn't bother this type of insurance company to pay several $1,000s to defend a case that might be worth $25,000, even if they end up losing to a verdict of more than that. It's all part of doing business. Conversely, some carriers are fair, and in those cases you can typically count on a higher settlement offer. Number 7, how much time has passed since the incident that caused your injuries? As a general rule, the longer it takes the case to get to a jury, the less sympathetic jurors may be. This is particularly true if you experience pain or other symptoms for a limited time after the accident, but you're fully recovered by the time of trial. Number 8, in many automobile cases, the actual damage to the automobile may be minimal, as car bumpers are made to absorb more impact now than they could years ago. If there's only a bumper scratch or minor fender damage, the jury may question the extent of the impact and therefore the extent of your injuries. On the other hand, if the car in which you were a passenger looks like an accordion, it's easier to convince a jury that you sustained serious injuries. So to summarize, the primary factors in determining case strength are how clear is the defendant's liability, how large and consistent with your injury are your medical records, do insurance or defendant assets cover your loss, will a jury like you and your actions, and or dislike the defendant and his or her actions? Do persuasive and unbiased witnesses support your claim? Does the insurer have fair settlement practices? Will you be fully recovered by the time of trial? And in auto accidents, how extensively and visibly was your car damaged? If you have questions about whether or not you have a good case, feel free to reach out to us today. Our phone number is 518-308-8339. You can also send us a direct message on social media or contact us through our website.